which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Ms. Milberg, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Holman,
Present.
Mrs. Mills, Mrs. DiGiacomo,
Here.
Mrs. Foglio,
Here.
Mr. Guerrero,
Here.
Mr. Simeone,
Here.
Mr. Roskovich,
Here.
Mr. Timonier,
Here.
Ms. Cooper, Mrs. Augustin.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum this evening, so that's good. We have 6 out of us. Could I entertain a motion to excuse Mrs. Mills from tonight's meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mrs. DiGiacomo moves and Ms. Holman seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? She will be excused by a 6-0 vote. Okay. All right, our purpose here this afternoon is to approve our 2025 budget. And so with that in mind, I will turn it over to the treasurer or the manager. Who would like to speak first?
I'll kick it off. So first off, again, I want to thank Ms. Augustin and all of our department heads for their work in the budget. Ms. Augustin obviously puts a lot of hours and a lot of effort into this. A lot of changes go back and forth, and as you saw right up till the last minute here, we've been making some changes. So I am cautiously optimistic that we were able to get the general fund into the black by just over $1,000 there, as you guys saw. So it's a very, very tight general fund budget. As you can see by the general fund where we break it out city and municipal court, most of that adjustment obviously had to come from the lines that I am responsible for to get it to that point. The other, just to keep in mind when you're looking at a budget with government funding, it's all about fund accounting. So when you see all the funds that are below the general fund, those are mostly timing issues. So there are going to be funds there that we, what you would consider deficit spend, just because there's either more projects one year or less projects the other year. So it's kind of a balancing act that we do in all of the other funds. One that I do want to draw your attention to is the sanitation fund. Our expenses within sanitation obviously over the years have risen. We will be negotiating another contract with Waste Management coming up here. I do expect our landfill costs to rise as well. We have not adjusted any kind of fees or rates for curbside pickup since I believe 2018. We're at $15.50 right now for that, so we may have to look at some adjustments within sanitation going forward. Other than that, the budget, I think, looks good. It's going to be imperative, and I've already stressed upon my department heads that, they're all going to have to stay within budget, look for ways to do cost-cutting measures going forward. And as I've mentioned to council several times, we will be negotiating new employee contracts towards the end of this year that will go into effect in 2026.
Did you build that in like a anticipated 3% raise or 2%?
No. The raise, all of the increases that are in the 2025 budget are the ones that are negotiated already. Okay. We don't know what those next ones will be.
Oh, that's right. Then
yeah.
That would go in the 2026 budget.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
Thank you. I stand corrected. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and again, if I'm ahead of myself, let me know. So where are we to make of the blank spaces, like the dashes in the cells where there aren't amounts?
Well, you don't see any numbers?
Yes.
Oh, it says 0. Like I was supposed to take them out, but I like to keep them. Let's say that if you look at Fund 388, like there is an beginning balance. So whether we have revenues or whether we don't have, like I need to keep that on. Those that don't have anything at all, I was supposed to take them out, but I just left them there.
One of those that you're looking at there would be the local coronavirus relief fund, so that had to be expended by the end of this year, and we did expend all that, so that line item is still on there. Same thing with the local fiscal recovery funds. That was a combination of the ARPA funds, and so those have all been expended that we needed to do. There's one item in here, and I've asked the solicitor for some guidance on this, the local opioid settlement fund, Fund 222. You can see where we have revenues coming in, but we haven't had any expenses. My hope is that we can divert some of these funds towards one of our detectives' salaries and wages within the police department that we do narcotics intervention with. That way, that would also relieve some of that general fund payment that's going into the police department and put it into the local opioid settlement fund. So this settlement fund is what you've heard of with all of the drug companies that during that whole opioid crisis that they had settlements, and these funds are now coming back to the different municipalities to be able to do drug interdiction with.
So did I just hear you saying that you wanted to divert that to a salary?
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm struggling to understand with all the drug issues that we hear about, that there's not more we can do with prevention, or I'm not sure how that works, but.
It would go towards salary of one of our detectives that deal with narcotics interdiction. And it's just an idea right now. That's why nothing's budgeted from that line item. So I'm waiting to hear all of the different options that we might have to be able to use those funds on.
Okay, so what is the thinking? When I think of prevention, I think of like the front end, what we can do to deter or help, support our residents. And I hear you saying a salary to help someone deal with it. So is it dealing with it after the fact there's an issue, or helping us on the prevention side?
Well, we
You don't have to answer that, but just to let you know that's.
I understand where you're going with it. I mean, right now in the police department, our detectives are doing a lot of investigating, a lot of, I wouldn't say that we're doing prevention other than when we encounter somebody that has an addiction problem, we're trying to get them to the resources that they need to go to. But some of those people may also become informants for us, where that kind of interdiction comes into play to kind of get the bigger people that we need to get. So my focus in this would be getting drugs off the street more than it would be treatment. But there again, I don't know if I'm allowed to use those funds for that yet. I've asked the solicitor for that opinion. And that's why there's nothing budgeted right now in that line.
So
It seems like that's a significant amount of money. It seems.
Well,
80,000 a year that comes in?
It's been growing, so we're projecting 80,000 next year. But yeah, 80,000 isn't enough to support a salary year after year. But if we don't expend any, we'll have almost $200,000 in that line item.
There's a need for sure. There is a huge need.
Hi, Mr. President, I have a question. And answer this as if you would a child, because I'm a little. I've been here for a year now, and I get the concept of overtime, which is unfactored expense, and I get the concept of breakdowns, which are also definitely an unfactored expense. But every single meeting that I've been to since I took this position, we've asked for more money for various things. And I'm having a hard time with the concept that we can't narrow the budget down a little more. Even the very last meeting, we needed money for stuff to finish the year. And I guess I just don't understand why that's such a floating process. It just seems like, by September, we should know how much money we need for the rest of the year. And
I wish
short
that-
of those other expenses, the overtime, and I just don't get it.
Well, and a lot of the last appropriations went towards the snowstorm. So
Right,
that was
so I get that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a given, all right, I
Yeah.
understand that part.
So the other times, and this is where we've said, we do a lot of appropriations ordinance throughout the year because it's the way that the budget just ebbs and flows. You see here, we're within $1,000 budgeting over $12 million in revenues, okay? So there are times where one department may not be expending as we projected, but another department is overspending what we projected.
So
and those
sometimes
funds
it
have to
does
be-
ebb, it just
Correct.
doesn't always flow.
Correct, yes. So it's a matter of rebalancing the budget as we go along. So we had, over this last year, we had a lot of income come in from income tax, from penalties and from what the Attorney General's office collected that we just didn't anticipate. So we have to so appropriations are not only for expenses, but they're also on the income side. We have to adjust the income side. Every time we do one of those appropriations ordinances, that also has to go to the county auditor to certify that those funds are there, and that's how we collected them. So when we do appropriations ordinances, it's a balancing of our budget based on the revenues and expenses that come in throughout the year. And it is, I mean, I've been here 13 years now, and almost at least once a month, we've rebalanced the budget.
The appropriations, they used to be done each time there is a meeting. And last year, what we decided is that we're gonna have requests for appropriations once a month, and that's what we've been doing. The other thing is that you're seeing the expense side of it, because that's what council has to approve. The revenue side of it, I just did the certificate like to send to the county. Like we asking them to certify like over $1.3 million in revenue, additional revenue than what we projected. And what council need to keep in mind is just that a budget is a projection. That doesn't mean that it's gonna be exactly. There are numbers that you may know that this is the number that I'm gonna need. But like Mr. Timony was saying, that it's just that you may have some funds, like they expend more, you may have some, especially on the general fund, you may have some departments they expend a little bit more. You may have some departments they expend a little bit less than what was projected. And then it's just, at the end of the day, it's just that the transactions, they are like ins and outs.
And keep in mind too, when we do appropriations, it doesn't necessarily mean we're asking for more money. It means that certain line items need more money, and again, it's a balancing issue. So we're taking from other lines that aren't using it to feed the lines that are using it.
So quick question. So I've always kind of been of the thinking, and it probably doesn't work as well here, but estimate that you're going to bring in less, but that you're going to spend more. So at the end,
And that's how we do the budget, yes.
And I would also assume too, though, that there might be an issue for you guys that if you overestimate what's going to be spent, those departments that may not need to spend that suddenly go, oh, we've got more to spend.
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of in a tough spot of you
Well, and
can't
that's what-
necessarily overestimate. You have to kind of keep it lower so people don't overspend.
And that's a good point too, because from September on, we're telling departments, start closing out your POs, start looking at what you're not going to use. And so when we come with an appropriations ordinance, a lot of that time is taking money away and decreasing funds within those general fund line items versus putting money back into them. And then as we get, this will change again by the end of the year because there's still POs that are closing out and some that we won't send checks out for by the end of the year. And so that ending balance will be adjusted. And in January, we'll have to do an appropriations ordinance because it'll be a different number of what our carryover is. It'll be the exact number that we know once we close December. So yeah, there's a lot of, the finance department is busy every day, not manipulating, but watching these adjustments in the numbers to know what we have to move where. Yeah.
And one thing to keep in mind is just that for each department, you have the salary portion and you have the operating portion. So sometimes you may have, if you have money, if you're missing money between the budget for the operating budget, you can easily just move it. You do an intra transfer. But if you need money in salary and you have money on the operating side, that we cannot do. We will be out of compliance. That's when we come to council. So you may have fund for that department, but it could be, it doesn't fall in the categories where we can do inter transfers. So we have to request for an appropriation.
And a lot of the appropriations ordinances that are presented are more for transparency, just so, I mean, there's a lot of things we could just move around, but it's easier to show where all the money's going and have council's backing on that.
And I think you would maybe be able to make a better statement about this, but I think the coronavirus funds and the ARPA funds really, I don't want to say saved us, but they really were impactful these last couple of years. I know around the state in general, but I know just from being here on council for a couple of years,
So
those funds made a big difference and really.
the funds made a huge difference in my opinion, as far as infrastructure goes. They made a difference in the general fund with the different grants. It wasn't necessarily the ARPA funds, but the funds that the health department received for their staffing, that relieved the general fund from some of those issues and those expenses. What you see happening in some municipalities and some colleges now, where they're talking about cutbacks and dropping programs and things like that, they started programs based on the funds that were coming in from the coronavirus,
Right.
from the relief fund. When these funds first came in, I think you guys would recall I said we cannot base these funds on hiring new people or starting new programs because it's going to go away. So with your blessing and our work, we put those money into roads, we put those money into the wastewater treatment plant study. So we did infrastructure type projects that did advance us, that were able to get a lot more done than we traditionally have been able to do. But now looking back, we didn't start a program that we now have to stop because those funds ran out. So I do agree in many ways it did advance us, and especially with the funds that the health department receives, that has been a relief on the general fund.
Yeah. Well, I just, like I said, being here for a while, I just think, boy, we were able to do a
We're
lot.
lucky. Yep, we
with
did.
those funds, and I think we used them wisely.
Well, and the nice thing too is we were able to get grants and then use the ARPA funds on top of those grants and then use our regular funds on top of that. We haven't done over $1 million paving projects in consecutive years for as long as I've been here, and we've been able to do that in the last 2 to 3 years. So,
Sorely needed.
yes.
Mr. President, also Mr. Timonier and Ms. Augustin, it weighs heavily on me still, knowing how much money goes out to the GPD project and more that will need to be spent on our pipes and infrastructure. So I know it's not the time, but what is the thinking around how we're going to be able to pay for that? Because it's a huge amount
Yes.
coming up
So
in 5 years.
the rate study that was done is a projection of the funds that will be needed to pay off loans that we acquire to do those projects. So next year, we will be starting the planning for the first phase of all of our repairs. And then as the rate increase goes into effect, which I think is January 1, those funds will be used to pay the debt. But we will have to get WPCLF and different loans for those. And we will also be looking at grants as well to offset those costs. And WPCLF loans, that's a department within the EPA. The EPA gives out loans to do infrastructure projects like this. And a lot of times, and especially based on our situation up here and income status, there's an opportunity to be forgiven after so many years or interest forgiven after so many years. So those are the loans we're going to be looking at.
And I think that's a good point. But I think years from now, they'll look, the residents of Ashtabula will look back and say, boy, they did a good thing by putting money into that plant, because it's a valuable asset. I mean, not all the communities have, it's a valuable thing to have. And I think people down the road will say, this is good.
It's going to be painful to get these projects done. I mean, I think the first round of project we're talking is around $52 million. You know, a lot of work is going to go into this. It's a lot of very scientific work that goes into this, and precision work that's going to go into this. And it's definitely, with the magnitude of it, you know, maybe some disruptions in traffic flow and different things like that with all the construction. But you're absolutely right. It's needed.
Yeah, when you talk about those things in this, and even when we went down there, I'm thinking, who thought of all this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But glad somebody was able to, so. Are there any other questions? Ms. Augustine, would you like to add anything? You've been,
No.
okay, you've been sharing all along, I don't know if you wanted to add anything. Okay, if there's no other questions from councils, then, let's see, we had public communication, and then we can vote on it, unless anybody has any final things to add. All right, I will enter, this is only one item on our, I'm sorry, what?
Can we table it, but Councilor Foglio continually brings up a point around the spending with our courts. And to your point, I've been here maybe 3 years, and we don't seem that we've gotten much farther. So, and I think you highlighted here, is this the deficit of 793,000 here? Because of the gap between the estimated revenue and expenses?
Yes, because the estimated revenue is $450,000, but the estimated expenses is $1.2 million.
And that's been growing every year.
So that includes everything, yeah, any cost to the court. So I would just preface this as this, that there is no doubt the municipality needs to fund its court.
Needs to do what?
Needs to fund its court. At the level we're funding it at and continue to increase it, that's where I have some heartburn, because, as I mentioned, it's my side of the general fund that I have to pare down and work out and get it within $1,000 to try to not deficit spend. So it's my departments that are feeling the pain to have that gap keep growing.
So what are we thinking? I mean, it's something.
You know,
And I guess before that, I don't know enough about it to know where the bulk of the monies is going to. And that would require some back-end work to determine
Well, I can tell you this year, and I said that when I was presenting the budget narrative, this year what happened, what I saw is that a lot of the salaries, like a lot of them, they put it into the general fund. Like, as an example, you may had, like, we had employees that were like at 20%, or that they were not even being paid through the general fund. But this year, I've seen a lot, and salary has been a lot. The salary went from around, I don't know, I don't remember, around 600,000, but it's like around $714,000 this year. And to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
So a lot of their
What do we do?
a lot of their fund line items that are below the general fund, they used to put those salaries into, and they've now exhausted a lot of those where there's not the big carryovers and there's not enough revenue coming into those line items to support that salary anymore. So they've moved those salaries back to the general fund. And the other thing to keep in mind too, this is a little bit of anomaly this year with the amount of retirements that we have. So as you go through the budget that I presented, that I sent to you guys, that had all the individual line items, you see the retirement and comp, those lines are really high this year, just because we have so many people retiring. So that's a little bit of an anomaly. We usually don't have this many retirements. So that weighed heavy on the general fund as well.
And it's gonna be high next year too, because the city, whenever that we have to pay $15,000 and more, we just cut it, we divide it into two. So we pay a portion is gonna be paid in 2025, the other portion is gonna be paid in 2026.
That was one thing that we did negotiate, because some of these payouts are large when somebody retires. When it hits a certain threshold, we can span that over a 2-year period, so it's not a huge hit in the 1 year.
I can't help but noticing $500,000 in police pension. How does that work? I mean, we're matching what they get withheld?
Yeah, so all city employees, there's a percentage that's paid by the city, and then a percentage that comes out of the employee's check. Yeah. And I think there's actually voted bond debt for police, isn't it? Yeah, that's part of a levy, part of the property tax that comes in that pays for a portion of the police and fire pension.
Okay, so we will, we don't need a consent agenda because we
Mr.
only have one.
President, Mr. President,
Yes.
I don't think we got farther. Like, what is the thinking? What are we brainstorming? I mean, what's the potential path
Oh,
forward
regarding
to
the court?
remedying? Yes.
Oh, well, I will say this, we invite them all the time to come and talk to us. And they don't, I guess would be the way to, we invited them recently to come and talk to the Finance and Personnel Committee, to the council, and they just prefer not to do that, so.
So the ultimate is you don't pass the budgets for the court, and it gets either mediated or negotiated, or it'll end up going to court. The judge has the authority to do that.
Now, is it something, because I know some areas, if they basically just court order it, are you pretty much stuck?
So that's,
That's what we're always
yes,
told.
that's what we're up against. So a lot of the journal entries and things like that, there's not much, well, they say there's not much council can do about it, but what you do have that has never been exercised is saying no and seeing where that plays out. Now,
Did the county try that?
I'm sure
Judge
over the
made
years,
couple
I'm sure over the
ago.
years, it's
Didn't
been
work out
tried.
too well for them.
Well, when a court is hearing a case about another court, seem to kind of stick together.
Good luck.
Exactly, so I mean, I don't really think that's an option. I mean,
Well, it's definitely an option. Again, it depends on the case.
It could just be a waste of time option.
It can be a waste of time and money. However, I don't think that the solicitor, nor the finance director, nor I would advise council to go that route if we didn't feel like there was a very strong case of why, with all the other expenses in the city, the court needs to pare it down. Or if you show their staff has increased by X, their salaries have increased by X, while the city's staff and salaries has maintained or decreased by X. You know, there's obviously some factors that you really have to look at to know whether you have a case or not.
Mr. Manager, how many people work in this building over here, roughly? This is now City Hall we're talking about right here.
Is it 11? Well, how many do you have in your department? 1, 2, 5, 7. You have 7 in yours, right?
I have more than 7, I have,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So
You have 9.
we'll say 15.
Let's say the 15.
15
yeah.
in that building running the whole city. They have 22 employees in the court. Guess that says it.
And this was brought up, and I can't remember who brought it up last time. Does it seem like there's a lack of, like, could this be offset if more, like, court costs were coming in, or, because
That's the
supposedly
one
they're
number-
very busy, so.
Yeah, so that's the one number I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how much court fines and everything is outstanding, or what they're doing to collect it.
They are.
And I was gonna say, and in their defense, that could be something too where it might not be the easiest thing to collect it.
Sure.
So,
Are all those court employees union?
No, none of them are.
None of them are? What, are they all full-time?
They have a mixture of full-time and part-time.
Do they all get health insurance?
If they're over the 30-hour threshold, yes. They're at least offered it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everyone putting their 2 cents in, because it may offer a different perspective, because we know if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and we don't get a different result, then we're not doing the right thing. So I just hope we get closer to figuring this out.
I would say that council and the staff we've gone out of our way to try to just have a conversation. And Ms. Augustine has been successful of getting them into her office to have some of those conversations. It hasn't really developed the way we wanted it to, but as Mr. Roskovich said, we've invited them to meetings. We've tried to interject on different things, or just, I mean, personally, I don't know how to run a court. I don't want to know how to run a court, and I don't want to interfere with what the judge is doing with her court. However, when I'm responsible for a side of the budget that hers affects greatly, you know, we just like to work together in a better way.
And I know you want to get in, but I just want to make sure I'm thinking correctly, because I know you take this personally because it's your job, but I'm wondering if there are further implications because it's actually impacting city government and how things are running, which to me, and I'm wondering, is that right? Or am I?
And that was my comment, that if we can show that we are lacking in all the other departments because of the increases that we've done to the courts over the years, I think that's a case worth going after.
Okay, you said if we can show, what is preventing us from showing it?
Tell us to do it.
That's it?
I mean, council holds the purse strings. So you passing this budget gives them the authority to spend $1.243 million this year. And if they keep coming forward during the year and asking for journal entries and increases, and you see those in the appropriations and you keep approving them, at some point somebody's going to have to say no.
So here would be my question. Do you think it's better now to do that, or do you think with maybe a little bit more time, being that, you know, they have at least come into the office and stuff, do you think it's worth, do you think the relationship might still be there enough that they could still work with you a little bit more? Or because
So
I'd hate to start doing
Yeah,
this
right.
when there might still be some way to work with them.
So I would say this, I'm
Council.
not thrilled but content with the budget as it sits. If things keep progressing during the year where we see just things that don't seem right, whether they can do them or not is one thing, whether they're right to do or not is another.
Exactly.
That's where I'm gonna ask council to start saying no. Yeah.
Miss-
But like I said, I'm not thrilled, but I'm content with the budget as it sits.
Can I ask one more thing before you, because I know you're going to say something really important, and mine is not that important.
Too, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. So I always wonder, what's the threshold between what departments sort of estimate or anticipate, and then their expenses and stuff are just blown? And I know the snowstorm is one of those things, but if there's a pattern that exists, what's the trigger point for us?
I wouldn't
That
say.
rule triggers like, something is
Yeah.
over time.
So as we close each month, the finance department, when they close that month, they'll put a percentage of where we should be at spending wise for that month. And that's where we go through the budget with the finance committee and look at, okay, where are the departments that overspent over that threshold for the month? And we try to nip that as it's coming during the year. Some of them you can explain, you know, Public Works usually spends more at the end of the year and the beginning of the year because of snow and overtime. Then it levels way off in the summertime, and then it picks back up again. So you will spend more in with that department versus, you know, at different times of the year. So we try to watch trends like that. But if we see, you know, we'll always go and look for the explanation why they're over that percentage each month during that finance committee meeting.
Okay, and for the year, because, and again, we're looking 3 times, we're 2.5, 3 times between the estimated revenue and then the expenses. It's almost 3 times, 2.5, yeah. About 2.5 times.
Were you talking about the court?
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I wish they could come to the meeting.
I'm done.
Okay.
Counselor
So, Ms.
Foglio.
Augustine, I just wanted, the one time that the judge did come to your office, that was to ask for more money for workman's comp and insurance?
It's not the one time that they came. When I first came on board, they did come to meet with me. And another time they came, I think that I met with them 3 times. The first time, what we discussed is that the court, they're gonna work on getting more revenues and things like that. And then also they were supposed to provide reports as to, that's what Mr. Timonio was saying, like those, I don't know, tickets, like, yeah, they're getting, how much money that they're getting, how much money they were expecting. But I didn't receive that, which is maybe it's my fault on one side because I was supposed to follow up with them. I did not. But the promise was that they were going to send me that. The second time they came, I don't even remember, it was about the budget, and we worked the budget because they were on a deficit last year when I was doing the budget, so we worked it out. The third time was prior to, or maybe between the investigation that we started, and there was, I don't even remember what it was, but there was something about the salaries that they wanted to explain better so we could know. I know that you didn't approve that $5,000, and they wanted to explain that is when they provide the backup documentation showing that they have the right to that indigent alcohol fund. Yes.
All right, we will. Thank you. And so we don't need a consent agenda, but we do need a motion to waive the reading of this legislation in its entirety. I will move.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Simeone. Mr. Simeone seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading by a 6-0 vote. I will entertain a motion to waive the charter requirements of 2 readings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Holman moves, Mrs. Foglio seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Milberg, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
We will waive 2 readings by a 6-0 vote. We will now vote on the adoption of the budget. Ms. Milberg, would you please call the roll again?
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
The budget has been approved by a 6-0 vote. Thank you. And so that will be it. So now we are going to move on to our special meeting. Yes, regular, pardon?
You will have to adjourn that meeting.
Yeah,
and then
yeah, I'm
start
going to
it.
adjourn that, yeah. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. I'm going to call the special meeting for the City of Ashtabula City Council to order. Today is Thursday, December 19th at 6:30, in the year 2024. Ms. Milberg, will you call the roll?
Ms. Holman?
Present.
Mrs. Mills? Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Here.
Mrs. Foglio?
Here.
Mr. Guerrero?
Here.
Mr. Simeone?
Here.
Mr. Roskovich?
Here.
Mr. Timonier?
Here.
Ms. Cooper? Mrs. Augustine?
Yeah.
Thank you. May I have a motion to excuse Mrs. Mills from this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Mrs. DiGiacomo.
Second.
By Ms. Holman, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will excuse Ms. Mills by a 6-0 vote. And, yes, and appreciating that Ms. Mills can't be here. She did let me know way back in the snowstorm when I just picked a day that she wouldn't be available. So otherwise, I know she'd be here. So the purpose of this meeting, we have 2 items that need our attention at this time. Mr. Timonier, would you like to?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So I am requesting an ordinance to execute change order number 1 with Andrus Separation of Dallas, Texas, for additional work needed on the rehabilitation project of the centrifuge at the wastewater treatment plant. And that is in an amount not to exceed $11,000, and that funding will be taken from the expense will be taken from Fund 503.
Yes.
President, I move on the manager's recommendation.
Is this adding it to the agenda? Do I need to add it to the agenda? I don't think I do.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, I think I would need to,
yeah,
like I
yeah.
normally do.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
we'll
we'll
just
add
add
it to
these-
the,
I'll add it to the agenda.
okay,
yes.
Ms. Foglio moves,
Second.
Ms. Holman second. All in favor, or any discussion?
Mr. President, just to inform council, so council did authorize the initial rehabilitation of the centrifuge as they opened it up. We found some other parts inside that needed done, specifically nozzles that are in there. These nozzles, I believe there's 8 of them. There's 8 or 9 of them, at a tune of almost $11,000 total. So of course, because it's open, because we have people in from Chicago, in Colorado, working on it, we want to get this done now rather than putting it all back together and having to disassemble it again. They are the original nozzles, so they gave us their useful life. Yeah, yeah.
They don't
What
always
year
end
did
anything.
that go in?
Pardon?
What year did that go?
1909?
It
Or
was,
was
I
it-
think it was the 1990s, the late 1990s that went in, I think. I can get you
Oh, you
the
don't
exact
have
on
to,
that,
I
but
just wondered.
yeah. The bowl and the scroll that are in there that we were really worried about are in pretty good shape, so not much work was needed to those, which is a good thing. We will be ordering at a later time in next year's budget another bowl to have on the shelf in case that ever has to do. We have another scroll, so if that has to ever be rebuilt, we can pop those in. But the project is going well. It should be wrapped up by the end of the week, and then we'll be back producing sludge.
And obviously, if we had to call, sent them back and had to bring them back, it would cost even more.
Absolutely. To remobilize would be expensive, yeah.
And we could put the new sludge in the new sludge truck.
Yep, they can
All
run the
set
truck
to
again.
go. Yeah, I think a new sludge truck. Okay, any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add it to our agenda by a 6-0 vote. Ms. Augustine?
Yes, Mr. President, we're requesting supplemental increases and decreases to appropriations in the general fund, police levy fund, probation funds, sanitation fund, CDBG, housing code enforcement fund, and special improvement district fund in the amount of $20,986.70. I need to bring to council's attention that this appropriation is like it's more a precaution, what's that word?
Cautionary.
Yes, thank you. Measure, thank you very much. Measure, just as we're closing the fiscal year, we don't want to have any minuses anywhere. So that doesn't mean that these funds are gonna be expended for real, but it's just that I don't want to find myself in a tough spot. So that's what we're doing then.
All right. I will move we add this to our agenda.
Second.
Mr. Simeone with second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will add it to our agenda by a 6-0 vote. There's no audience, so I don't imagine anybody would like to comment on these 2 items of legislation. Ms. Milberg, will you read us tonight's items, please?
Ordinance number 2024-166, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into change order number 1 with Andrith Separation, Inc. for the purpose of rehabilitating the centrifuge at the city's wastewater treatment plant. Ordinance number 2024-167, an ordinance to make supplemental increases and/or decreases to appropriations in the general fund, police levy fund, AMC probation fund, sanitation fund, CDBG fund, housing code enforcement fund, and special improvement district fund for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Ashtabula, state of Ohio, for the period January 1st through December 31st, 2024.
Thank you. Is it council's desire to handle these 2 items in consent agenda format?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Giacomo moves and Ms. Holman seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will do so by a 6-0 vote. I would entertain a motion to waive the reading of the legislation in its entirety.
Second.
Ms. Holman moves and Mrs. DeGiacomo seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We will waive the reading by a 6-0 vote. May I have a motion to waive the charter requirements of 2 readings?
So moved.
Ms. Foglio moves.
Second.
Ms. Holman seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Milberg, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
We will waive the 2 readings by a 6-0 vote. We will now vote on the adoption of the legislation. Ms. Milberg?
Mrs. Foglio?
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Mr. Simeone?
Yes.
Mr. Roskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Holman?
Yes.
Mrs. DiGiacomo?
Yes.
Both items of legislation have passed by a 6-0 vote. Anything else for the legislative part? I think we're done there. Okay. Is there anything council would like to add before we adjourn? Our next meeting is January 6th this says 7 o'clock, but it should be 6:30. Now, I know there had been a request to have an earlier meeting. Is that request still standing?
5:30, please, for a work session.
Is there an agenda, or is there new items, or what will we be discussing at this 5:30 meeting?
I can make up an agenda. I'll have one made up and sent out to everyone. I didn't know I had that privilege, but if I
Well-
do, I
Well,
appreciate it.
I think you would suggest your items to council, and then we can, with the manager, and we can go from there. So this is going to, you want to discuss the homeless situation again?
I do.
And is there new information for us?
I think there are things that we need to discuss. Yes?
Well, all right then, council, we have a request, and then, from the counselor to meet at 5:30, so,
Mr. President,
yes.
I have on my calendar 5:30 already. So was that predetermined?
That was the original request, and I'm only asking, I just want to make sure that
I don't
we're,
think I would have wrote that down.
no, that was originally requested. And I just want to make sure that we're going to be here and, we've discussed this issue quite a bit, and I just want to make sure that we have some new information to discuss, or new, that it would be time well spent. I guess I'm just looking for that, that we could use our time well. And Ms. DeGiacomo has some items she'd like to share with us, and so then we will meet at 5:30 on that night.
But Mr. President,
Yes.
during that same time we were discussing meeting, I think it was also mentioned that we would have a work session around the recommendations made by the ad hoc committee. Was that date
I think
captured
that
in the
was
minute?
the following council meeting.
Okay.
The 21st?
Is that the date of it?
Because I also have that meeting starting at 5:30, so we must have.
It's the
Yeah.
21st?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we covered
yeah.
all this already.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
And then, Mr. President?
yes.
Refresh my memory on the day of the safety forces.
January,
Is that the 13th?
the second Monday, yes, so the 6th is the first Monday, and the 13th would be the second Monday. And that's at 8:30 in the morning. And you'll be chairing that meeting, so Stacy will get with you to, or Ms. Milberg will get with you to ask you if you have any agenda items. Mr. Timonier will check with the safety forces, and then we'll approve the budget, or not the budget, the agenda. Okay, is there anything else? All right, seeing nothing else, we wish everybody a happy holidays. Eric, have a happy holiday. Everybody else have a happy holiday, and we will see you in January. Meeting adjourned.